I'm at 4022 Mengel Drive in Dayton, Ohio. Doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. This is a slab on grade, so there is no basement, so we're going from the clean out outside. If you're facing the house on the right side, looks to be going out to the side street here. Looks like cast iron going down through the clean out, which means there's probably a little bit of cast iron, and it probably switches over to clay. We're looking for any structural issues, any root intrusion, stuff like that. Looks to be there's a tree right before it gets to the street, right inside in the easement between the sidewalk and the curb, and so looks like the sewer could run straight out past that tree. The only restriction here is that because it is clean out, most of the time these clean outs have they have sweeps on them, which forces the camera to go in one direction only, which would be going straight out towards the street, instead of being able to go both ways, upstream and downstream. So the bathroom is right inside the bathroom is right inside this wall here. So the main plumbing does start just on the other side of this wall. So we are doing the majority of the pipe, but we just can't go back underneath the floor, and so we're unable to inspect this stuff under the slab, but we are able to do it going out. And so it looks like we've already run into just a little bit of a soft build up there of some soft materials, some solids, but looks to be some roots, which was to be expected, as we already talked. Yeah, that's a pretty good amount of roots there, maybe 50 to 60% there, but was in the flow line, so it was catching some stuff. And when I poked my camera through it, it seemed to release some buildup there. And so we're going to try to push some of this down, and what we may do is run some water in there and try to clear this out once we get all the way out to the main, so that we can take a better look when we pull back. Roots on clay lines are very common, so to find this isn't a real big surprise. Well, we want to see just how bad it is, whether this will require regular maintenance after the initial cleaning. Usually, if done really well, you can get a few years in between cleanings. More if you use a chemical treatment in between. But I usually say it's a good idea after the initial cleaning, give it a few years and then have it re-inspected, just to kind of check root growth and see if it's see how quickly the roots are building up, so you can get yourself a good maintenance schedule. So far the line looks pretty good structurally. So like I mentioned, we'll go a little slower on the way back, but we've made it all the way to the main. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video here, and we're going to try to run some water in the bathroom and just kind of monitor the flow and see if we can rinse some of those solids out of the line, and we can get a better look when we pull back. Okay, we got some water running on the interior fixtures. The flush the toilet a couple times. You can see the water flowing. And so we're going to pull back and we can kind of watch. Hopefully we see some solids go by us and it cleans out the line. But this will need an initial cleaning. Just due to that, really, I only saw one real section that seemed like it was building up solids. And a reminder not to use wet wipes in these. You did see some buildup of that toilet paper and stuff, and what can happen is if you use wet wipes, they do not disintegrate like toilet paper, and so they can build up and catch more stuff, and then it becomes a blockage. When if it was toilet paper, it will break down into nothing and disintegrate into the water, and then it'll eventually, you know, disintegrate and take off, so you won't have to worry about it. Chunk of toilet paper. Well, once water builds up behind it enough, it will take off and take that on out to the main. There's another small amount of roots. Most of these are very minor. I believe we just had one spot that had some root buildup that was causing the solids to build up. They were down in the flow line. You can see here's a little bit there where the stuff's kind of breaking loose. Yeah, there's one that's probably about 40%, and it is down in the flow line. I mentioned earlier you can treat this, you know, have an initial cleaning, and then you can treat this with a chemical every 6 months to a year, just to try to, if you're really worried about the roots, they can, it foams up and it catches on the roots as it goes downstream, and you can do it right before you go to bed, and it should burn. Help keep them at bay a little bit. Just a little precautionary thing you can do. Yeah, I think this was the worst one here at about 21, 22 feet, because it's flopping right down in the flow line, and I think that was what was catching stuff on the way out. Looks to be flowing freely right now. Enough water buildup behind it. Looks like a combination of my camera. Here it was, 15 feet. That's still holding a little bit of water. That camera lens is only about a half an inch off the bottom of the pipe, so it's not a whole lot of, that's really not a whole lot of water. And with the water running, I think that was the worst one here, 15 feet. That one, so between 15 and 20 feet. It seems like that's got the biggest amount of roots here, which could be partially from these bushes, but mainly from the tree next to the street there. That's got the, within that tree's drip edge, so. Yeah, we are in the vertical. You can see that by the bottom left-hand corner. There's an angle indicator pulling up vertically. So, you can see again, that is where we went in. There's the front of the house. And that tree right there is most likely the culprit, but it could also be that one there. We've got two trees on this side of the house. So, again, I'm just going to recommend an initial cleaning. to get rid of the roots, and then some regular maintenance after that. Again, I would recommend in 3 to 5 years maybe. Within that time frame, I would have it rescoped, just to kind of check the speed of the roots. There are permanent options, but they can be rather costly. Either lining or digging up and replacing it, but just for roots, it's a pretty normal maintenance thing to do on old sewer lines. And structurally, the line was intact, so the roots are just getting in at the connections of the clay tile, which over the years the packing can shrink and break down and allow a little bit of roots in. As long as you keep them at bay and keep them small, they really don't cause any other damage. It's when you let them go and they get bigger, and then they can start breaking pipe. So again, I've given my recommendations, so that'll end the inspection at 4022 Mengel Drive in Dayton, Ohio.